Hello dear students, welcome to our education once again. So today we have brought class 6 history lesson 9 vital villages and thriving towns. So here vital means very important villages and thriving means very prosperous means very rich towns we will talk about. The concept map of this lesson will go like this: iron tools and agriculture, which we are going to talk about in this lesson, Tamil collection, and travelers who all came to India during early Vedic or in the ancient Indian history. Prabhakar at the blacksmith shop. Now, what do you mean by blacksmith? Blacksmith is a person who works and who makes a lot of things out of iron. So, he's a Prabhakar. One day he went to a blacksmith shop, and he sat watching the smiths at the local shop. There was a small bench on which all the iron tools were and sickles were laid out ready for sale. As you can see, these are various instruments which this blacksmith is making out of iron. So a bright fire was burning, and two men were heating and beating metal rods into shape. He has a big hammer with which he beats this iron tool, and then he gives this iron tool the shape he wanted. It was very hot and noisy, and yet it was fascinating to watch what was happening. So Prabhakar kept on sitting in blacksmith shop, and he kept on watching all the activities which this blacksmith was doing, and he was interested to see all these types of tool making process. Iron tools and agricultural tools. Now, the use of iron began in the subcontinent. Subcontinent, when we talk about it, means we are talking about Indian subcontinent, and started in India around 3000 years ago. In the previous lesson, we have read about Harappan civilization also, but iron was not discovered till the Harappan civilization time. Once the Harappan civilization was disappeared from this country, then only Harappan civilization time period is 3500 years ago. Okay, but the use of iron, it began 3000 years ago. Some of the largest collection of iron tools and weapons were found in the megalithic burials. Now, what do you mean by burials? Burials are the dead bodies which are buried under the ground, and now the archaeologists, they have dug all those burials, and they have taken out all these dead bodies and kept them in the museum to find out how do people used to live in the earlier times, and what were all the process to um, cremate the people once who are dead. So in one of the burial, there was some iron tools which were also buried along with these dead bodies. So by this mean, archaeologists have come to the conclusion that the people of this period, they had come to know about the use of iron tools. Around 2500 years ago, there is evidence for the growing use of iron tools. You know, archaeologists, they are of great use to us and to our history. So they keep on finding about lot of new things about the history. So they keep on digging various uh, uh, historical sites, and they keep on studying various old buildings, and they keep on studying various architectural uh, things also which we get from the earlier time. So these included access for clearing forest and the iron plowshare. Plowshare, you know what it is, which is used to plow the field. The plowshare was very useful for increasing agricultural production. How it was done, we'll know it in the coming slides. So these are some of the important tools which were made by the people in the earlier times. Other steps to increase production in irrigation. Now, how does the irrigation increase? One of the main reason was irrigation. As you know, irrigation works that were built during this time, that included canals, wells, tanks, and artificial lakes. So these all were the means of storing water for the farmers and for the agricultural fields. Wells are dug where there is lot of water scarcity, means where water is very less, so people can use the well water for drinking as well as irrigating their lands. fields, I mean. And tanks are also of similar use, and artificial lakes, canals, these all resources are made where the water is very less, because in the areas where already they have lot of water, lot of rivers, they need not to make canals, ponds, wells, tanks, and artificial lakes, etc. Labor is provided by the people. So to make all these big lakes, where does this labor comes from? Labor means the people who used to build such large wells and large lakes. So this all labor was provided by the people of the state or the people of the territory. Farmers also benefit because crop production is more certain, because when you have the irrigation facility. Now what do you understand by irrigation? Irrigation means to water your field. If you water your plant, that is not irrigation, that is known as watering the plant. But if you water your field, then that will be known as irrigation. Irrigation is watering on the large scale. Okay, so when we provide the facility of irrigation, farmers will also benefit, and they will also get lot of production. Next, farmers have to increase production to pay taxes. So this is one of the table which you have to complete from these three options. Now see, first what used to happen: kings need money for armies, palaces, and forts. In the earlier times, the king used to keep on fighting, keep on going to the war more often. Okay, and to fight big wars, he required lot of soldiers and lot of arms also. For that, all everybody, all the kings, they require lot of money. And beside that, the king also used to make very grand palaces and forts to protect his empire, to protect his capital. Now where this all money will come from? For that, number 2, they demand taxes from farmers. For it, the king used to collect tax from the farmer. Now what will come on the third line? mm, Farmers have to increase production to pay tax. Now how farmers will pay taxes? When his production will be good, when his production will be increased. So on the third place, this point will come. Okay, farmers have to increase production to pay tax. Now once farmer has increased the production, then what will happen? This is possible only with irrigation. And how production will increase? Only when there is the proper facility of irrigation. And what will happen after it? Farmers also benefit because crop production is more certain. No, see, kings provide money and plan irrigation work. To provide irrigation to the farmers, king will plan and king will build and construct many canals, many wells, and many tanks. And what will come on sixth position? Farmers also benefit because crop production is more certain. Now, when they have the facility of irrigation, they will have a regular uh, production of the crop. And what will happen thereafter? Production will increase, and when production will increase, they will give more tax to the king. And when more taxes will be given to the king, king will become more rich. And when king will become more rich, he will go for many wars, he will build a lot of palaces, and he will build forts also. Who lived in the villages? In the Tamil region, large land owners, they were known as Velalar, means a person who is having lot of land, means he was a rich farmer. So rich farmers in Tamil region. Tamil region means South Indian part we are talking about, not the North Indian. Okay, so the rich Tamil land owners, they were known as Velalar in Tamil language. Next is ordinary plowmen were known as what? See, ordinary plowman means a person or a farmer who is having less land. He is known as Uzavar. What he is known as? He is known as Uzavar. Now the third category is landless labor. These are the categories of landless laborers, means the person who are not having any land, not even the small one part piece of land. So there comes slaves also. So such person who are slaves means who work on others houses, who work on the palace, in the palace of king. And such person are known as kadai siar or adimai. Okay, Kadaisiar or Adimai. These all the words are of Tamil language, so a bit difficult for us to pronounce. Next is in the northern part, let us talk about. So far, we talked about the southern region. Now, let us talk about the northern part. Here, the village headman is known as Gram Bhojaka. So this village headman is a person who is having lot many numbers of plots, agricultural fields, and lot of power with him. So in northern India, he is known as Gram Bhojaka. Gram means village, Bhojaka means the headman. Usually, men from the same family held the position for generation. Means if he is Gram Bhojak, his son will also be Gram Bhojak. His grandson will also be Gram Bhojak. So it means this position is hereditary. It will go only within one family. The Gram Bhojak was often the largest land owner, means he was having the maximum amount of land. Generally, he had slaves and hired workers to cultivate the land. If he has lot of lands, then he is alone not able to cultivate all his land. So what he does, he takes the service of many slaves. He hires them, he keeps them on work at his home and on his land. All these slaves and hired workers, means laborers, they work on his field. Besides, what else he does? As he was powerful, the king often used him to collect taxes from the village. The next work of the village headman Gram Bhojaka is to collect tax from all his village, and thereafter, once he has collected the tax from the village, he give it to the king, and some part of the tax he also keeps with him to maintain his small army or to give salaries to his slaves. He also functioned as a judge and sometimes as a policeman, means at the village level, wherever there are conflicts, wherever there are quarrels, he tries to be a policeman, means he resolve and gives solution to all the problems at the village level. And judge means he also give decisions to the quarrels or to the disputes or to some problem. There were other independent farmers known as Grahapati, most of whom were small landowners, and the small landowners they were known as Grahapati. And then there were men and women such as the Dasa Karmakara, means Das means slave, means servant, okay? The one who has no land, who has no job, in fact he has to work in his master's house, and master used to treat him very badly sometime or most of the time. Means Das or Karmakara who did not own land and had to earn a living working on the fields owned by others, means he used to work on others field or in others house to fill his stomach. In most villages there were also some craft person means the people who make some tools or other decorative items, like who used to live in the villages, like blacksmith, the person who works with the iron, and the potter who make lot of these pottery items from the clay, carpenter who works on the furniture, on the wood, and the weaver who used to weave clothes for the village men. So these are some important category of the people who used to live in the village in the earlier times. Even nowadays we will see only these people living in the village beside farmers. Some of the earliest work in Tamil, known as Sangam literature, were composed around 2300 years ago. In this slide, we are talking about the earliest Tamil composition. Tamil composition means the Tamil books which were written very early. So they were known as Sangam literature and they were written 2300 years ago. These texts were called Sangam. Now, what do you mean by Sangam? Sangam means combination in हिंदी. संगम मीन्स किसी चीज़ का मिलाप और मिलना. Because they were supposed to have been composed and assembled in composed and compiled in assemblies. Now assemblies are what? Assemblies are a group of people. When lot of people they gather at one place, then that is known as assembly. Like you do it in your school in early in the morning, okay? You gather at one place or one ground of your school to do the assembly, to sing the prayers. So that is assembly. The similar assemblies of poets means all the like these are the poets who write beautiful poems. So they all the poets they used to gather at one city that was known as Madurai. This is Madurai, and it is in Tamil Nadu. This whole area is Tamil Nadu, and this is Madurai. So all the great poets from all this South India, they used to get gather and they used to do meeting over here, and in this meeting they used to stay here for many days, and there they used to write all these beautiful poems. Next, finding about cities, and how do we find about cities is by stories. Now about the early history, how do we know? We You may have heard of the jatakas. You know what jatakas are? The stories that were probably composed by ordinary people and then written down and preserved by Buddhist monks. So these are one sample this is one sample image of original Jataka book. See how beautifully they have written these stories. And what Jatakas means, when you sleep with your grandparents, sometime your grandparents tell you story at the bedtime. So similarly, in earlier times when there was no TV, there was no radio or other entertaining media or internet, so people used to collect at one place during the evening time or at somebody's house, and people used to tell various stories of their life, various stories of their travel to other places. So those stories were so interesting that they used to be retold for many generations. So these Buddhist monks, they used to move from places to places. When they heard these stories, they written down these stories on these palm leaves, and these stories and the collection of these stories are known as Jataka tales or the Jataka stories. And by these Jataka stories also we can find out about the society of that time, means what kind of people they used to live there and what kind of stories they have told. Here's a part of Jataka story which tells us not to be in haste and have patience. This is one Jataka story. Here in this picture, we cannot make out what story is, but the moral of the story is do not be in haste. Haste means do not be in hurry, and always have patience. So when you'll search on internet or Google about the Jataka story, you can find lot of videos also on the YouTube about the Jataka story. So they are very interesting. Just go for it and see what Jataka story actually tell about the society of 2300 years ago. It would be interesting for you to watch it. So please, all the students, dear you people, do watch once Jataka story for your interest and for your better knowledge of this lesson. Next, finding out about cities, and this thing is sculpture. Now let me tell you what sculptures are. Sculptures, carved scene, these are known as sculpture. Carved means when you carved some stone hard surface, when you carved some stone, when you carve some wooden piece and you make beautiful design out of it, then such art and such artistic skill is known as sculpture. Okay, and these carved scenes, it depict people's life in towns and villages as well as in the forest, means the people who are living in cities, the people who are living in villages, how they were, how they used to look, and people who were the Adivasis or the tribes who used to live in the forest as well. Many of these sculptures were used to decorate railings. Railings mean the houses of the people. Okay, nowadays we make our railings with the help of glass, with the help of iron, but in earlier times the railings were so beautiful and they were carved out like this. And sometimes these sculptures were used to decorate pillars also. Even now some people decorate their pillars, right? Just see outside your house, there would be some pillar, but some pillar most of the time they are plain, but people who are having lot of money, they carve something even in their pillars. And gateway of buildings, if your gateway is very beautiful, and in earlier times also people used to carve their building as well. So this is one example, one image of the carving in the earlier times. You can see, if you look it closely, this person is holding one arrow, so we can make out that the people of that time, they used to fight with arrow. These are the guards, and these are the women who are not roaming on the road, instead they are looking outside only by these windows. Next is many of the cities that developed from about 2500 years ago were capital of the Mahajanpadas. In previous lesson we have talked about Mahajanpadas. There were various 15 to 16 Janpadas, but some of the Janpadas they were so powerful and so important that they were known as Mahajanpadas. Even in present time there are lot many cities in our country, but few of the cities are known as metro cities like Kolkata, Delhi, Chennai, Mumbai, right? Because these cities are bigger and they are having more population than the other cities. Similarly, in earlier times also some states they were stronger than other states. That's why they are were known as Mahajanpadas. Maha means a large one. As we had seen, some of these cities were surrounded by massive fortification we have talked about in previous lesson also. So now what do you understand by fortification? When you surround all your capital city or all your territory or town or your palace with large boundaries or the large walls of this stone, then this is known as fortification. This is one remain of the fortification. And you know, the fortification of Magad was done very beautifully, and the large walls were there around the Magad city. And most of the time fortification was done to protect the capital so that all the enemies cannot enter that area. And next was the reason that kings they wanted to show off, means they wanted to show their wealth, that how rich they are. So this is only a small piece of fortification, now it has been destroyed. But the earlier fortification they were so tall that even the people, there were lot of gateways in those fortified areas, and all the soldiers were installed over there to protect and look after their capital city. In many cities, archaeologists have found rows of pots. As you can see, these are lot of rows of pots. One pot is placed over the another pot, and similarly, this long row has been made. Or ceramic rings. Ceramic rings means ceramic is a material or a metal by sorry, which is used in your houses. Although sometimes dinner set is also made up of ceramic, and your teacup, coffee cup, they are also made up of ceramic material. So these are the ceramic pots, and they were arranged on top of other. So these are also known as ring wells. Now let us find out why these ceramic pots are kept in this way. These seem to have been used as toilets in some cases, and as drains and garbage dumps. Mean when people have lot of garbage in their homes, they used to dump this garbage in these pots, and thereafter they used to dump and bury these ceramic pots inside the ground. Means they used to bury these. And in other places, in other houses in town, people used to use them as toilet pots as well. Okay, so this way they used to keep their houses and cities cleaning. By once they are filled, they used to remove it from their house, and they used to dug it inside the land. We have hardly any remains of palaces, markets, or of homes of ordinary people. We don't have any remain. It means archaeologists they don't have found. They did not have find any palaces of this period, and no market of this period. Otherwise, of British time, we have lot of buildings still we have in India, and Mughal building also like Taj Mahal, Red Fort, Buland Darwaja. These all buildings are of Mughal period, but of this 2300 years ago period building and palaces we don't have, because they all have been destroyed by the some other means by some other rulers or some natural disasters. Like perhaps some are yet to be discovered by archaeologists. Others made of wood, mud, brick, and thatch may not have survived. So these are some of the reason why we don't find any architectural evidence of this time. But still, these are Ashoka made sculptures, and these stupas, these pillars, they still survive. One finding out about cities. Now let us talk about travelers. One of the most detailed account that has been found by an unknown Greek sailor. He described all the ports he visited. There is one Greek. Greek means a person or the sailor who had come from the country Greece. Thereafter he went back to his country, and he had written one book. And that book, when Indian historians they read, there was written, the gulf is very narrow at Baragaza and very hard to navigate for those coming from the sea. So the Greek name for Bharuch. Bharuch is a place. It is in. This is a port city. Port city means where all the water ship, they land. So Bharuch, it is in which state right now? Right now it is in Gujarat, right? So in that time, it means this port was very popular. So, what else he has written? Ships had to be steered in by skillful and experienced local fishermen who were employed by the king. Now, see, to hold those ships, king had kept many fishermen on the coast or on the port, so that they can take care of the ships which are coming from other country. And export from the town included plants from the Himalaya. Export means India used to send Himalayan plants, ivory, agate, carnelian, cotton, silk, and perfumes to other country. And what people used to bring from other country, special gifts were brought by merchants for the kings. These included vessels of silver, singing boys, beautiful women, fine wines, and fine cloth. Next is coins. Coins also helped us to find out about our history. Archaeologists, I am repeating this word again and again now. What do you mean by archaeologists? So, archaeologists are those people who help us to find out lot of things about the history. They study history, means they study old items like buildings, like books, like burials, coins. And these things, when they study, they make out what facts and what is written in on those coins, in those books. So they also have found several thousands of coins belonging to this period. The earliest coins which were used for about 500 years were punch marked coins, such as the ones shown below. Can you see, these are punch? Punch means this is a piece of metal, and you don't have to carve anything. You just have to press it so hard that this would appear like a punch, and this is from the back side, and if you'll turn it, and the images will appear like this, right? So these are known as punch marked coins. Punch marked coins were generally rectangular. This shape is rectangular and sometimes square also. Square shape I don't see in this picture, but they were in square shape as well, or sometimes they were round in shape also. And they were made out of metal sheets made out of flattened metal globules. Globules means a small spherical body. The coins were not inscribed. Inscribed, as I told you earlier, uh, they have to carved out, but these are not carved out, they are punched. These coins are found over most part of the subcontinent. Subcontinent means Indian subcontinent, and remained in circulation means they were used till the early centuries. Cities with many function. Which city is it? It is Mathura. Mathura has been an important settlement for more than 2500 years ago, and right now till now also Mathura is one of the very important religious city of our country. And now see why the Mathura was so important in earlier times. It was important because it was located at the crossroad of two major routes of travel and trade. Now you see, this is Mathura, and if one has to move from northwest, this is north part and this is west part, okay? If some person has to move from this north part to this east part, he will have to cross from this Mathura also. And if someone has to go from north to south, then also he has to take this way from Mathura. So that's why this Mathura city was very important, because it was as the crossroad of two important routes, one from this west side to east, one from this north side to this south side. There were fortification around the city. Mathura was fortified means there was large massive wall to protect this city, and there were several shrines. Shrines means holy places. Farmers and herders from adjoining areas provided food for people in the cities, just like we have read in Harappan civilization lesson also. So Harappan civilization was a some urban civilization, means all the people they used to live in the cities. But how do they get their food? They get their food by the farmers who used to live in adjoining areas. And similarly in this time also, the farmers they used to provide food and other crops to the city people. Mathura was also a center where some extremely fine sculptures was produced. Till now also we must have read about Mathura arts, ya Mathura school of art. So this is one of the design of the sculptures which was very popular in Mathura. Mathura third work region was also a religious center. There were Buddhist monasteries, means the Buddhist people they also used to visit Mathura quite often. And apart from Buddhist, Jain religion shrines were also there, and Hindu temples they were there also as well. And the people who used to worship Krishna, Mathura is the birthplace of Lord Krishna. That's why it is sacred for all these three communities, all these three religions, means Buddhist, Jaina, and Hindu people. That's why Mathura was so popular in those days. These inscriptions on walls were gifted by kings and queens, officer, merchants. These inscriptions on wall were gifted by kings and queens, officers, merchants, and craftspersons who lived in the cities. Now, what do you mean by inscription? Inscriptions are writings on the hard surfaces like stone walls or on the wooden surface. If you'll see this video closely, you can see that there's something written on this stone block. Okay, so this written portion is known as inscription. So they were beautifully carved out by the craft person on the order of rich people like king, queens, officer, etc. For instance, inscription for Mathura mention goldsmith, blacksmith. So in the inscription sometime we can find out the mention of various people who lived in cities. So in this inscription also there is mention of goldsmith, blacksmith, weavers, basket maker, garland makers, and perfumers as well. Next is crafts and craftsperson. These included extremely fine pottery known as the Northern Black Polished Ware, means NBPW. Now, what is it? Just like the metal, just like the clay pot or the ceramic pot or the bronze or the copper items. This is also one of the decorative clay which was used to make all these types of vessels, and this was known as NBPW. It gets its name from the fact that it is generally found in the northern part of the subcontinent. So in the northern part of India, this type of clay and this type of pottery is very popular. Next is cotton textile famous centers such as Varanasi in the north and Madurai in the south. Both men and women they worked in these cotton centers, and cotton is used to make cloth. Many craft persons and merchants now formed association known as Shrenis, means the group of the merchants. These Shrenis, now what was the job of Shrenis? Shrenis means group. Okay, the Shrenis of craft persons provided training, procured raw material, and distributed the finished product, means all these people who were the member of these Shrenis, they give training to the people who were unknown to all this art, unknown to this skilled. And they also provided raw material. Raw material means the unmade, unfinished product to the other craft person. And thereafter when all these craft person they had made all these beautiful items out of this raw material, then they used to give this finished product next to the merchants, traders, or in the sell in the markets. Shrenis also served as banks, means this group also was behaving or acting like a bank, means they were also keeping money with them where rich men and women deposited their money. This was invested and part of the interest was returned or used to support religious institutions such as monastery. Now when we deposit our money in the bank, we get lot of interest out of our bank. But what happens when we deposit our money in the bank, we get only 4% of the interest, and when bank gives that our money to some other person, then bank gives that money on 10% or 12% interest. So this way bank earns lot of money from our money. So that profit, these shrenis, they used to make that profit to make beautiful temples, right, or the monasteries at that time. A closer look, Arikmedu. Now, what is Arikmedu? Arikmedu was a coastal settlement. Coastal means which is situated on the coast of a sea or ocean, where all the ships they uploaded goods from distant lands, like just like where train stops, that is platform, or the railway station where a plane land, that is airport. Similarly, where a ship land, that is known as port. And in the port it is always busy port, because lot of ship comes, lot of ships they go, and all the time lot of people are required to upload, to take out goods from the ship, or to load goods on the ship. And warehouse was also we have found. So this is one demolished, or this is almost destroyed warehouse of Arikmedu. Warehouse means storehouse, means here all the traders and all the ships, they used to keep their goods inside it safely. Other finds include pottery from the Mediterranean region, such as amphorae. Amphora is what? Tall, double handle. You can see double handle means handle on the both side. You must have seen this type of pottery in many movies also. And in Arabian countries, this type of vessel is very popular. So it is used to keep liquids like wine or oil. So this is found in Arikmedu regions, which shows that the people of Arikmedu, they used to do trade with all the Mediterranean people or the Mediterranean countries. Next, stamped red glaze pottery. This is red glaze pottery known as Argentine ware, which was named after a city in Italy. Okay, so this used to be made and brought it a long way from Italy to India. And this is also example and picture of Argentine ware. It is red in color. Roman lamps, glassware, and gems also have been found in the site of Arikmedu. Now, why I am telling you all this? Because it shows that Arikmedu was a place in India which used to do trade, means business from all these foreign countries even that time. So, these are important questions of this lesson.